We have had quite the year with vehicles, and we were hoping to hop on here to address the elephant in the room or the elephant in the videos, and that is that each time we've upgraded our trailer, we have upgraded our tow vehicle. So over the past 9 months, we have had 3 trailers, including 1 fifth wheel, and we've had 4 tow vehicles. So in this video, we're going to get into telling you the story on why we did those upgrades, why we felt it was necessary, and maybe give some helpful tips on how you can navigate buying a tow vehicle or figuring out a safe tow vehicle for you and your travels and your RVing. And we just hope you can maybe learn from some of our mistakes. I think this has been hands down one of the biggest learnings that we've experienced by getting into RVing, is that your tow vehicle is super important, and part of that is also understanding payload capacity and understanding a bunch of terminology that can feel overwhelming when you're going through the process of buying both a trailer and a tow vehicle. So hopefully this video can help mitigate some of the fears you're having, or just educate you on what we experienced. We by no means are experts in this field. As we mentioned, we've bought 4 tow vehicles, so obviously we had a large amount of learning that happened this year. We're just going to share our experiences, and hopefully it can help someone. Or if you feel like you have more information or different information, please write a comment and help someone out. So let's get into it. So for us, we started our RVing in a Airstream Caravelle 20 FB. We started out with the intention that we would do weekend trips and go for sometimes weeks at a time. So we had a 20-foot trailer, and we actually got the trailer and decided to tow with the vehicle we already had. So we had a Toyota Land Cruiser
2024 Land Cruiser 250.
That. And so we had that, and we, with Airstream, in case you're not familiar, Airstream is actually known to be a very lightweight trailer across the board. Comparing brands, it tends to be in the lightweight trailer category. So we were lucky enough that it worked out for us to get into one of those and utilize an equalizer hitch for trailering with that, and that worked great. But we did learn a lot in the beginning, so we decided that we were going to do a cross-country road trip. And with that, we talked about our gas mileage at the time, and it really felt like it started to kind of strain over long distances. And it was a very conscious drive, so it wasn't like the most easy tow. Now that we've had experience with other tow vehicles, it was a very conscious drive with that tow vehicle, and we were potentially naive. So we had our car first and got our RV, and we dove into RVing pretty green. So we didn't do a lot of research when we got our Airstream. We didn't do a lot of research on tow vehicles and what we needed to feel comfortable to safely go across the country from Colorado to New Hampshire. And we made the decision that we were going to upgrade into a 1500 truck. And at the time, we did not think that we would go into full-time RVing. Maybe it was a possibility, but we were pretty set that we were happy with our Airstream at the time. And we were naive of other brands and the weight variations that they could have in trailers. So we looked at 1500 trucks, and we picked out a
2025 GMC Sierra 1500 AT4 is what we landed on. Is between the AT4 and the Denali, and I think we just like the more off-roady, aggressive look of the AT4. I've always kind of wanted one, and we both loved it, so that's what we went with.
Yeah, and one of the kind of things, this was our first diesel truck, And the biggest shock to us was actually the miles per gallon that we got with the truck. So with the Land Cruiser, we were getting about 9 miles per gallon towing and filling up. Like the tank size wasn't that large, so it was about half of what our 1500 was. So we were filling up for gas like all the time. So that was the biggest kind of upgrade for us, was the miles per gallon. We were getting 15 to 17 miles per gallon towing.
Yeah, I think even sometimes 20 miles per gallon with the Duramax. So with Duramax in the 1500, that was really nice. Like Lynn said, when we weren't towing, we were getting close to 30 miles per gallon. So it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, so we felt really good in that decision, making that upgrade while we had the Airstream. But life continued on and we had some other changes come up. So we were happy in the Airstream, but we decided to do full-time RV life. And with that, we decided that we needed something a little bit bigger and had more storage for full-time RV life. So we got into a Brinkley Model I-235 travel trailer. And with that, we learned that Airstream is a lightweight trailer. And Brinkley, as much as we love Brinkley, they are not lightweight.
It's a good thing though, because they're built with extreme quality. You can just feel it in the cabinets and the countertops and the way that everything is made. They're extremely durable, and with that comes more weight compared to the Airstream, which is the aluminum shell, which was awesome to keep it lightweight. And Airstream had some good quality cabinets, but I would say that Brinkley kind of has the edge in terms of quality, which results in a lot more weight. And the Brinkley is also about 7 feet longer than our Airstream was. So even just that small fact it adds a lot of weight. So it was a little bit of a surprise for us, but it was the perfect trailer for us at the time. It was a great upgrade for us compared to the Airstream. That's what we went with.
Yeah, I know the I-235 was marketed and has been marketed as a half-ton towable, but I'll get into the details there on why I would not. So we did some pretty heavy research there, and what is lacking is the payload capacity. So we learned the most important thing is actually payload capacity and understanding that to calculate your payload margin. So understanding your safety buffer there and how much your truck can carry is actually far more important than your towing rating or towing capacity. And the reasoning there is that you're more likely to run out of towing payload capacity before you ever get close to running out of towing rating or towing capacity. And so when you're looking at trucks, definitely go in person to look at all different ranges of vehicles. So we actually looked at GMC. We were kind of in awe with GMC. We had the 1500, but then we looked at the Denali Ultimate, and Dan actually found a really good deal on one.
All right, so here we are. 1500 we just recently bought, and potentially the 2500 Denali Ultimate that we're thinking about getting into. Parked next to a high country. Let's take a quick look in here. Beautiful looking truck. Brown leather is fantastic. 2024 Sierra Denali Ultimate.
And so at the time, we were looking at kind of the manufacturer listing of what payload capacity for these kind of trucks were. And I think that was a mistake we made. And we're just going to be upfront and say that was a mistake we made. So we looked at the manufacturers stating that it was around 3,200 to 3,500 payload capacity for those GMC Denali Ultimate
2500
2024
diesel
engine.
Diesel, but yeah, diesel.
And so we got into one of those. Dan got a really good deal on it.
So when we bought the 2500 GMC, we bought that with the idea that it would be way more truck than needed to handle the 235. And then also in years to come that it would be enough to handle a fifth wheel or a bigger travel trailer. So when we bought it, we were under the impression like this is going to be our truck for a long time. And I was actually pretty happy about that, because switching vehicles and going through that whole process so many times is it's just annoying. Exhausting, yeah.
We were super happy with it, and we started right away towing with it, and we had to get a different equalizer hitch to handle the weight upgrade as well. I'll mention that in the description below, but we got into it. We were really happy with it, and we thought we were going to that was it for us. We thought we were going to be full timing with that and our Brinkley I-235, and we had some issues with the dealership again and had a unique situation where we got into a Brinkley Z2680. And we're super happy we got into the Z2680. It just added some more storage, and you can watch the video on that. I'll link that as well. But basically with that, we actually did look at the yellow sticker, and it was a sad day because we loved our Denali Ultimate, but we ended up having something what's called a D-rated truck. So even though the manufacturer stated that most Denali Ultimates 2500s are around 32 to 3500 payload capacity, ours was actually cut in half. Something that we learned was that even if a make and model has a certain factory payload capacity amount range that they're listed at, you'll still need to look at that yellow sticker. It can vary. Even if there's a truck that's the same exact make and model, it can still vary in payload. And the reason for that is how everything that goes into the truck and its build out, even its engine. So actually diesel engines weigh more than gas engines, so that works against your payload capacity, and you'll likely have a lower payload capacity with a diesel truck than you will with gas. And then if you have any truck with like bells and whistles, so like Denali Ultimates come with massaging seats and a bunch of other kind of upgraded features, that will also work against your payload capacity as well. So your yellow sticker is going to be found in your doorway. And it's very important that you look at these. If you're shopping for a tow vehicle, you're going to go to each door and you're going to look at the payload sticker. So it'll say combined weight of occupants and cargo should never exceed. For our GMC Denali Ultimate 2500, the payload sticker actually read 1,426.
So it turns out that when we were looking at the fifth wheel, you know, the website recommends, or, you know, different people recommend having a certain payload capacity and all of that. So just out of curiosity, I went out and looked at our 2500's payload capacity. And what I found was super confusing and alarming, because it said the payload on a 2500 Duramax was 1,500 pounds, which was like the same as our 1,500 truck. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it and couldn't understand why. So I did a whole bunch of research, digging deep in the Duramax forums, the GMC forums, and it turns out that the truck that we got is a D-rated truck, meaning something like it was originally built as a commercial vehicle to be part of a fleet of trucks for a company that were not going to be using it for like heavy towing or anything like that. And in my mind, I didn't want to have a truck that had a D-rated sticker, because God forbid we got in an accident or something like that, and they saw that we were 2 or 3 times over the payload that's on this sticker. we get in a lot of trouble, and held liable for, whatever could happen in an accident. So that was a huge bummer.
So that kind of caused us, and we did look at the sticker, and it did take some of the ratings. So they go through the manufacturer and they certify it for a lower rating. For ours, it was the rear axle rating that was lower. We actually looked at another GMC 2500, same make and model, Denali Ultimate, and that one had a sticker for around 3,400 pounds. And the only thing that we could kind of tell was that GVWR was higher, and then the rear axle rating was higher. So unfortunately, we had to go back to the dealerships and look for a new truck. And
when we bought the 2500, I honestly didn't even look at the door sticker. I've never looked at the door sticker because I just assumed that what it says online for the payload capacity is what it is. But like Lynn's mentioned, even if you have the exact same truck, the payload could be different depending on the model. So that was a huge learning for me, is always look at that sticker, or you're probably going to be finding yourself back in the dealership trying to untangle this mess that you got yourself into if you just so happen to get a D-rated vehicle, which we did.
the saddest thing in the world is having to give up our massaging seats.
Might still be able to get them.
Maybe.
All we want to pay.
Small hope, but lots of sadness. We thought we had the perfect setup, and then we learned about Payload.
It's not about Payload. I just think ours was going to be 1,400.
Yeah. Our 2500 Denali Payload is 1,400. Has puck system and setup for a fifth wheel, but would never be able to tow
The
one.
weight itself would exceed the Payload.
That's crazy. So that led us, after our D-rated truck, getting into our Ram. And we have a,
Ram 3500 Laramie,
yeah, and it's nice.
2025.
2025. And it's white, black seats. It's really nice. We really like it. And the reason for getting into it, we kind of compared, or Dan I think went to like 10 dealerships.
Yeah, it was a very busy week. We had to travel for a wedding, and we were kind of in a time crunch because we had a going away from Colorado trip planned, and we needed a truck. So I went to, probably close to 10 dealerships. Of course, I went to the original dealership I got the D-rated truck from to see if they would help me out for, I guess not pointing that out that they were selling me a D-rated truck. And then when they didn't really help out, and I saw how much more expensive the Denali Ultimate 3500 would be, that's kind of when I shifted gears towards looking at Rams as well as Fords. Turns out the Fords were even more expensive than the GMC. We really liked them. To be honest, we really liked every truck. The Rams are great, super powerful. People love them for towing. Fords, of course, they have a really good reputation for towing and comfort.
And I think they have high payload capacities too, so.
Yeah, for some reason the Fords had really high payload capacities, which we really liked and wanted, just in case we wanted to upgrade again in the coming years or whatever. But we ended up landing on the Ram 3500 Laramie, like we said, and I think it's working out great. It doesn't have the features that our Denali Ultimate had. Some of them, like the massaging seats, was a really hard one for both of us to give up. Now that we've had this truck for close to, 4 months, 5 months, I guess, whatever it's been, that was the biggest feature I think we lost. This one doesn't have like a heads-up display.
I think we lost some like what would you call it, data on like your tow vehicle, on your trailer. So I feel like the GMC had a lot more trackability for your trailering.
Towing features too,
Towing
like
features.
when you'd put your blinker on, it would show you, like the mirrors would kick on with their cameras, and we could see like our blind spots, what's next to us. That was really nice. Yeah, the stats around towing with a particular trailer, and then just cameras in general, actually. So like I was very surprised when, like, I test drove this truck, loved it, but I just didn't like pay attention to everything. Like, a front facing camera, for example, in a big truck when you're going to park in a parking lot. It's really nice to have, to see how far forward you can go, or like how close you are to the car in front, because the hood is really big and it's tough to kind of see over it. And like over the first couple days, we were like, we don't have a front camera. I could have sworn that it did. So I'm just like, oh, maybe there's a setting we have to turn on. But it turns out we just like literally don't have one.
It does have bigger mirrors though. We were doing the attachments on some of our mirrors and they do come out. So it does have the tow mirrors that extend. So that has been nice. But yeah, I think the cameras, and it also has the mirror defoggers, but the cameras are definitely a big miss for us.
But I will say I do love the 3500 Ram. I feel super safe in it. Engine's fantastic. Exhaust brake is fantastic. But that's kind of the debacle we had with the GMC.
Yeah. And I think the moral of the story, though, is really what we learned is most important is really that yellow sticker. And for looking at trucks, you're typically not going to see the yellow sticker online. So trucks that are listed, they're not typically taking pictures of that. They might take a picture of the gray sticker that gives you the GVWR, but without that calculation of payload capacity, you really don't know. So going in person is important. If you're buying remotely, make sure you're asking the dealership to take a picture of that and send that to you. Make sure you're confirming that. But that was probably the biggest learning for us out of all of our RV learnings so far. And it hurt. It had us going back to the drawing board, getting another tow vehicle, spending hours at dealerships.
Letting go of a truck that we both fell in love with. I think the Denali Ultimate is one of my favorite vehicles I've ever had. But again, love this Ram. It's got a lot of great features. It's comfortable. And yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is that you probably want to have a really good idea of the trailer or fifth wheel that you're going to get prior to buying a truck. Because if you're initially thinking of a travel trailer, and you buy, say, a 1500, but then you ultimately decide you want the fifth wheel, it's going to be a significant difference in the truck that you're going to have to get in order to pull it. So our recommendation, which we learned we didn't necessarily follow, is to have your trailer picked out and then buy your truck according to the payload capacity that you need, towing capacity, all of the other numbers that Lindsay has mentioned in this video.
Yeah, and that's super important. And obviously not everyone has that luxury, but if you are, or ability to do so, but if you are looking at a trailer and have the means to pick out a truck that fits into that, from our learning experience, is you should go bigger in payload capacity, as big as you can, because if you ever think of upgrading, that is most likely going to be your limiting factor.
Another really good tip that I got from the Ram dealership actually was in regards to stopping power for a truck, because we did find a 2500 that had a decent payload capacity that I was actually leaning towards. And basically the guy at Ram told me that a 3500 will have a lot better stopping power due to the axle ratings, as well as, Jesus Christ, the axle ratings as well as the GVWR. The higher that number is, the more stopping power the truck may have. So as soon as I heard that, that was basically the 100%. I'm going with the 3500. Get the extra payload, get the stopping power, just in general, get the stability from the truck that's going to be able to handle the fifth wheel. So something also to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's kind of the theme here is your tow vehicle is very important for safety. So if you can go with the vehicle that allows for the most safest travel and towing ability, that is the route you should go. That's why picking out your tow vehicle is so important, and that's also why Dan said it earlier, but picking out your trailer first and then picking out your tow vehicle will just help you align and be the most kind of assured and safest for understanding that your truck is able to tow and tow safely. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you found this educational or helpful in some way. And again, if you have any more info to add to share with someone, please write it in the comments below. And as always, we hope our adventures or our experiences in this case inspire your adventure and experiences. And if you like what you see, please hit that like button below. And if you want to follow along for more videos and more adventures, please hit subscribe to our channel. And as always, thank you so much for being here.